Welcome to Envision Broadcasting, the station designed to encourage, equip, and empower you for growth and success presents The Momentum Shift. A show where we get inspired, we get moving, and we get results. Every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern with your host, Eric Collier. He's the mayor of motivation and mental quicksand expert, bringing you inspiring interviews and empowering stories that will help to improve lives. If you're ready to start making the impossible possible, then you've joined the right show, because the Momentum Shift is what you've been looking for.
My name is Eric Collier. I'm a veteran of the United States Army and Navy. I'm a two-time Amazon International best-selling co-author, and I'm an entrepreneur. And I love helping people, and I love coaching people. And I've done that successfully for over 20 years because I really want to see people win. And there is no greater feeling of joy than to witness someone who has just experienced that aha moment go on and change their lives and start doing what they thought was impossible and turning it into what is possible for them. So my goal, my mission each week is to simply do this: help improve lives. That's all I want to do. Help you improve your life, because you deserve to live in the greatness that is you. Now, every Friday, I want you to be ready. I want you to be ready for either an interview of these incredible people, a solo episode with myself, or maybe a remix of multiple interviews of these incredible, inspiring people. Begin. The goal is simply to help improve lives, and we're going to leave you with some nuggets for success. It's going to help you create that momentum shift that's going to really change your life. I'm really grateful to have you join me. I'm looking forward to having your feedback and helping to improve the show. And the one thing I'm really grateful about is I get to hear your stories of how you created that momentum shift that changed your life. So get ready, because the momentum shift is what you've been waiting for. Are you feeling stuck, dreaming of a life beyond your current boundaries? I'm Eric Collier, and I've been where you are. Now, as an international speaker, 3-time international best-selling co-author, veteran, and the host of the Momentum Shift podcast and radio show, I've dedicated my life to helping people just like yourself embark on a transformative journey to unlocking your inner greatness. With my wealth of experience and a proven track record, I guide individuals to break through barriers and create life-changing momentum shifts. Having been featured in news and magazine articles, on television shows, and spoken on stages like the National Press Club and Columbia University, my message has inspired people worldwide to turn the impossible into possible. On my show, the Momentum Shift podcast and radio show, I'm committed to sparking a movement that empowers others to shift momentum in their lives, offering motivational insights, interviews, and thought-provoking discussions. If you are ready to redefine what's possible and unlock your potential, then subscribe to my mailing list for exclusive content and updates. Join a community of motivated individuals just like yourself on the path to greatness. Subscribe now and transform your life at CEricCollier.com. That's CEricCollier.com. Welcome, Momentum Shift podcast and radio show family. I'm Eric Collier, also known as the Mayor of Motivation, and I'm excited to have you join us today. Here's why. Last week, we took a dive into leadership optimization, and we explored the impact it has on our personal and professional growth. This week, we're going to dive a little deeper, and we're going to talk about teamwork and collaboration when it comes to achieving our organizational goals. Understand this. I'm going to put some emphasis on leadership optimization because I want you to understand that it's crucial for creating momentum shifts in organizations. And here's why. It enables our leaders to unlock their team's potential, enhance collaboration, and drive results. And this is going to be key when it comes to meeting that bottom line. Here's something I want you to think about. I want you to think about a team that's operating where every member is empowered and they're contributing in their own unique strengths. Then I want you to think about this. They're not just trusting each other. They're holding each other accountable and thriving. And more importantly, they have this shared sense of purpose that's driving their collective success. So this team is not just productive, it's also resilient. It's adapting to situations and circumstances. It's innovating together and to turn obstacles into opportunities. So this team is powerful. And this is going to be important when it comes to really achieving the goals we set in our organization or the team that we operate with in athletics, the team that we work with in our choir, the team that we work with in our community. So think about these things because you're leading something. What is it that you're leading and who is that team? Who does that team involve? So I want you to join us. I'm excited to have you with us this week as we explore the strategies for leadership optimization and understand that teamwork, collaboration is important in understanding the dynamics that we have, the effective communication, I can't even say it, the effective communication within our team and our organization, and then being able to build high-performing teams that get results. So important that you take the first step, which is you're tuned in tonight. So thank you for joining us. The second step I need you to do is get a pencil, a paper, pen or paper, what have you, however you do it, take some notes and collect some of this data that we're going to provide you today that's going to help you really create momentum shifts within your organization. So then after we finish, again, repeat it, take some more notes, but also share your thoughts and feedback with us on Facebook, the Momentum Shift podcast and radio show on Facebook, and then leave your successes, some of your feedback, and just share with the community in itself. And don't forget, hashtag optimization, hashtag momentum shift, hashtag maximizing leadership. So don't miss out on this opportunity to transform your team's performance with us. This is going to be great. The momentum shift that you're going to create is going to really change some things. It's going to elevate you to a new level in your office or at home. So again, you're going to have to apply the strategies, but the one thing I need you to do, if you are really ready to create a momentum shift in your organization or at home, the time is right now because the momentum shift starts now. Hello and welcome back to the Momentum Shift podcast and radio show, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, C. Eric Collier, and we're diving into that leadership optimization, that key to really creating momentum in our team, where we are unlocking our team's true potential, enhancing communication and collaboration, and more importantly, we're developing an environment where we are developing leaders who are leading leaders. So how do we go about doing that? Leadership optimization. Maximizing leadership capability is going to be key here when you're putting together an environment where leaders are developing leaders. So we're going to look at unlocking our team's potential through strategies for effective collaboration and communication. We're going to take a look at our team's dynamic, how we are communicating, and we're going to build this high performance team that is not just producing, but they're trusting and holding each other accountable, and they're leading leaders. So one thing I want you to understand too, the momentum shift. First of all, the momentum shift is about leadership itself. You see, it's a law of leadership. So why not talk about leadership optimization and connect it with some laws of really developing a dynamic team that is connecting, they trust each other, they're empowering each other, and they're creating those victories that we need to create the momentum that we need that's going to give us that explosive growth later on down the line. But we got to be intentional with our growth. So that's why we got to focus on developing this team and understand what could be holding us back, changing it, looking at it as an opportunity to really challenge ourselves to move forward and put together this dynamic team that is performing at a high level. So with that, first thing I want you to take a look at, we got to take a look at our team. You know, I'm a big fan of sports. So when we talk about sports, we talk about free agency and the ability to put together the team you want. I think it's key to understand. We've seen many teams put together, some of the best athletes that money can buy, and they're put together on these teams, but for some reason or another, they still can't win a championship. Why is that? Because it's not about putting together the best athletes. It's about putting together the team that is willing to be able to hold each other accountable, willing to push each other, and willing to accept being held accountable, and then communicating effectively to move forward. So it's a lot here to unpack, but I tell you what, I tell you what, it's understanding that, leadership and the teams that we put together, these guys are working hard, whether they're in the office, on the field, on the court, whether you're in a band, a group, a community, it doesn't matter what you're doing. Everybody is working hard. But do we have them in the right position? So we got to understand their strengths. We got to understand how we communicate, because if we can't effectively communicate with one another, we can't get that vision out. More importantly, our ego gets in the way. We get offended by everything that somebody else says, and we begin to bicker and argue, and we never grow together as a team. We never make that connection. So connection is going to be key with putting together this team. So let's take a look at the power of our teamwork. Teamwork in itself, you hear it all the time. Teamwork makes the dream work. But you got to have a team together that's willing to connect and trust one another. So I like this quote by Helen Keller where she says, "Alone we can do so little, together we can do so much." I want you to think about this, because when you're looking at a team achieving an organizational goal, hey, we can go with one of the best, Michael Jordan. When Michael Jordan was first starting with the Chicago Bulls, it was nothing for him to put up 63 points, 55 points, dominate a game, and they still lose. Why is that? Because one person can't do it all. You only have 24 hours in your day. You have so much you have to do, but you can't do it all yourself. You have to have some support. Not only that, your abilities, your strengths allow you to perform well in one area, but you may not perform well in another. Here's what I'm talking about. Let's say you have a team in an office and you got one individual who's a great communicator. You have another individual who is great at processes and breaking things down and really understanding the dynamics when it comes to putting together policy and all these different things. Then you have an individual who's great at marketing. You have all these different aspects of the team. But one person in the wrong place will keep you from really performing well. So how do we go about changing that? Well, you got to look at where you have your team. You got to look at what's going on. But then you got to let somebody on the team has to say, hey, look, I got your back. We're going to be in the right place. We're going to be in the right position, and we're going to get things done. I always like to use this example of creating a momentum shift with a team. With you look at the 2022 NFL game with the Minnesota Vikings and Indianapolis Colts, when at halftime, the Minnesota Vikings were down 39 points. So think about that for a second. You're in a game and you're down 39 points, and you're thinking, how do we come back from this? A lot of people watching the game are saying, hey, it's over. There are probably people heading for the parking lot to go back and tailgate and head back home, thinking they just wasted a lot of money to watch this game. But what took place in this game was, it exemplifies the power of teamwork, because in this game you had this star cornerback go in at halftime, and he started this rally. He helped spark this dramatic turnaround. And what he did was, he took the role in the leadership, and he said, look, offense, we're going to come back from this game. We got you. The defense has you. You just do what you do. The defense is going to step up, and we're going to take care of what we need to have happen, and we're going to come back and win this game. So when you look at it, at that point, what he did was, he just told the offense, we got you. He created that bond of trust, and they've been working together all year long. And they knew if he said it, even though he fell short the first half, they got to put their trust in him. But there had to be some things that happened in this comeback where in order for the Vikings to really be able to make it happen. So you had to have the offense trust in their defense. You had the offense trust in their ability. And somebody had to make a play, key play here and there. The defense had to step their game up. Interception here, fumble recovery here, return one back for a touchdown. And guess what? The Vikings are on the move. They're scoring the ball. They're scoring at will. They're making this comeback, and then they put themselves in position to take the game in victory in overtime. It was one of the biggest wins ever in NFL history. And it was powerful because nobody could see it coming. It looked like they were done. It looked like they were just going through the motion to play the game. But that's what you have, ladies and gentlemen. When you create a momentum shift, you got to understand there are going to be times when you're down. You got to understand there are going to be times when it looks like you're not going to be able to come back. But the ability to bounce back in times of adversity, the ability to push yourself, even though it looks like it's not going to happen, push yourself to keep going is going to be key. And it's going to take clear communication. Somebody has to put the vision out there. You got to communicate what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, how we're going to go about making this happen. And you got to do that in a manner where they build trust with you. So when we talk about trust and why it's so important on a team, building that level of trust is the foundation for any successful team. If I can trust you, if I know you got my back, I'll break through a wall for you because I know you got me. You're going to take care of me one way or another, and we're going to work together. So the ability to adapt is going to be key as well. You know, understanding that in the process of this journey of leadership optimization and creating a momentum shift, things are not always going to go our way. And we're going to have this great and beautiful plan laid out, but at some point we're going to hit a wall. You know why? Because our plan is not always the plan. So we got to understand that when our plan is deterred, somebody else is in charge. So we can't be willing to fight and keep going, trying to control everything. We got to understand that we hit that wall for a reason. And now we got to look at the opportunities in that. And a great team put together has somebody that says, hey, look, we're working hard this way, but here's another way to shift it around. And then you look at the opportunities that are in the challenge and you find ways to really move forward. And guess what? When you can get people to buy into this shared goal, you have this shared goal and that unified focus of achieving this common object. I have a passion for it. I want this just as bad as you do. I'm willing to break through a wall. You got to break through a wall too. And you got to really move forward with it and understand you don't always have to see the finish line. You just got to step by step, take that process and you start creating these little victories that lead to creating momentum. And that momentum is going to build and build and build until eventually you create this explosive growth. So the benefits, man, increasing your creativity is going to be key. You know why? Because on a team that is empowering you to do your job and operate in your strengths, as opposed to having you working in areas that you're really not good at, you're not performing, and you're always worried about being fired. Oh man, it's tough to come to work in that environment. It's tough to be creative. It's tough to think that you can make a decision and somebody's gonna go with it. But when they put you in the strengths and they empower you to do your job and do the things that you do well, man, it changes the game, the innovation that you have, the creativity picks up, enhanced productivity. Think about this. You're doing a job that you don't like to do. It's a challenge. And it takes you a while to really buy into it. It takes you a while to buy into the fact that you could even pull this off. So when you get tasked with something, you might sit there for a little bit and not do what you need to do. And people think you're procrastinating. It's not that you're procrastinating. You're just not sure. You're not confident. But if you want to boost employee engagement, if you really want to boost your team's energy and enthusiasm, you have them working in their strengths. You have the people who are communicators in the communicating position. You have the people who understand processes, really outlining the processes and procedures that you need to move forward. Marketing, all these different things. You have these teams working together in those areas that they're really strong in. man, you can create some creativity and some production that is going to be important when it comes to creating these momentum shifts and going from stuck to achieving the goals you set, reaching that bottom line. So when I talk about your ability to be successful, this is how you have that historic game in your life. This is how you have that historic moment in your company's or life. You want to put people together who are going to produce, who are willing to give up control and trust you, trust in your vision, trust that you're putting them in the right position, buy into the vision, and really work together. That is going to really unlock their full potential. It's going to really create a movement in your organization. And I'm telling you, it's going to change the culture in your organization. So, ladies and gentlemen, with that, we're going to take a break and we'll be back in a little bit on the Momentum Shift podcast and radio show. Hello, welcome back to the Momentum Shift podcast and radio show, family. We're diving into leadership optimization with teamwork and collaboration, the power of it we're talking about this week. And what we're talking about now, understanding team dynamics. When you think about putting together a winning team, I think you have to look at the powerful Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson was a very unique, dynamic, and just one of the best basketball coaches out there. But when you look at what he did, how he operated, he put together a team that not only won a championship, not only won back-to-back championships, but they won back-to-back-to-back championships on two different occasions. So, yes, I know there's Red Auerbach and there's other coaches out there who have won, but this one right here, I got a chance to see. So I think when you look at the team that he put together, he had Michael Jordan, the scorer. He had Scottie Pippen assisting Michael Jordan in making this happen, right? He took on another leadership role. He understood what his job was. And each person on that team had a job to do. Dennis Rodman was the rebounder. Then you had the other supporting cast that was there. And they were ready to step up anytime that they needed to step up and perform in their strengths. And Phil Jackson helped put all this together. And so I think we got to look at a quote that he has where he said, the strength of the team is each individual member. The strength of each member is the team. And you got to understand it's not about the individual. It's about what you can do to help the team. So it's important when you look at those dynamics. And so in order to do something like that, you got to take a look at behavior characteristics, personality traits, and you got to understand what that person's ability is, what they need in when communicating, what they need, what they value, what they understand their role to be, how they comprehend their mission. And so I think it's really important when you talk about understanding and appreciating the unique strengths and weaknesses of each team member, because your team's success depends on the leader's ability to motivate and inspire those individuals. So if you don't understand what they value in times of challenge, when you don't understand what they value each day, why they get up and do what they do, what motivates them to move and to really get them to buy into your vision, again, you can put the best team together and not get the production. So let's take a look at understanding team dynamics and looking at different behavior and personality styles. As a certified DISC facilitator, I've always loved understanding or trying to understand why we do what we do. What makes us act in a certain way. You always see people, you work with individuals who may get overwhelmed and they go into what I call a turtle shell. And what I mean by that is they're performing all the time until that stress hits them. And then when that stress hits them, or that moment of that time when they can't make a decision, they go into a turtle shell and then they're paralyzed. They're not moving forward anymore. They disappear on you. Case in point, I'll give you an example. I had an individual on my team once, and every time he had a task, he would disappear. you wouldn't hear from him. You couldn't get anything out of him. He wouldn't produce. But if you called him out on it, he would become aggressive, angry, and he'd start blaming you as the reason he's not doing what he needed to do. Actually, not blaming you for the reason he wasn't doing what he was doing. What he was doing was identifying something that he didn't like about you and calling you out on it. And so that was the challenge that was had on that team. And it was a negative response. The team couldn't get anything done. So when that individual left, it was a change. It was a game changer because now you had individuals who had buy-in into the vision, who understood that you had to do whatever it took to be able to make things happen. And that team began to change things. So understanding personality traits, because if that individual could have just said, hey, I'm operating in an area that's not my strength. I'm telling you it's my strength, but it's really not my strength and I need help. That helps. If you had a leader at the time, which we didn't, who could identify that this individual was disappearing every time he was given a major task and not buying into the excuses or not allowing that individual to continue to operate in that manner to really hold him accountable, that game could have changed as well. So I think it's very important to understand people's behavioral styles because there are some people who are, when they're overwhelmed, they still perform. They still push over and over again to keep making things happen. They're the go-to people on the team, right? If something's going down, you know you can go to that individual and they're going to pick up the ball and they're going to keep moving forward. And there are those individuals who take that leadership role when it appears that nobody's stepping up and they'll just do what they need to do. And then there are those people who can really break down the process and help you understand the reason you're overwhelmed is because you're missing these processes. You're missing these steps. You're trying to do it all at once. So that's a key thing in having these behavioral styles and these personality traits understood. Another thing is that effective communication. You've got to be able to understand how to communicate with individuals. In certain situations, people need certain information. I'll take, for instance, you can't come to me and tell me, hey, look, this is what I want to do. I don't have the processes laid out. Because if I'm a person who understands processes, then I can tell you it's never going to work. You need to stop right now what you're doing. What you're trying to do is not going to work. You need to break down why it's not going to be work because you're missing these steps. And I can do that for you. Boom, 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 boom. Then you have the individual who has this vision, this dream, this goal that they want to accomplish. But for some reason, they start a piece of it and they never finish it. They want to get the accolades and they get the accolade. Then once they get that, they move on to something else. Or they're continuously just adding things to everybody else's plate and they're not doing what they need to do. So you've got to be able to identify those things so you can hone that in and really get them to focus on accomplishing the goal. Focus on understanding what their role is in this mission and the distractions they're bringing to the team. So you've got to be able to understand the importance of understanding those individual styles. So as a DISC instructor, I help people understand the 4 different styles of DISC, right? So DISC is a behavioral style. And so we identify the dominant style where they're assertive, they're results oriented. Then you talk about the influencer who's outgoing and people oriented. Then you have the steady, slow and steady person, right? He's consistent, he or she is consistent, they're detail oriented. And then you have that conscientiousness one. That individual is analytical and reserved. They can break down those processes and just blow your mind away with the things they can do. So we help people understand that. And in that, there's actually 12 overall different styles of DISC that people can come out to be. But the importance is understanding that it's not something you use to manipulate people. It's something you use to be able to enhance communication. When you're working together, being able to get their attention, to get them to focus, because a lot of times you're talking to people and you're not giving them the right information and they're just not interested. Then you're communicating with individuals and they seem like they're not interested, but they're interested. But because you think that they're not interested, you get offended by them looking as though they're not interested. And so now it becomes a problem. But understanding this DISC assessment just means, hey, look, that person is a thinker. They got to hear all the information. They're breaking down what you're giving to them, and they're trying to better understand it. Then they're trying to understand what their role is. They're trying to understand what you're expecting from them. So that's an important piece. When you can communicate and connect like that, the team dynamics, oh my gosh, it improves. So when you're talking about this leadership optimization, we go to the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, and the law of the lid being law number 1, elevating our ability to lead. That's the key, right? Taking the lid off of our leadership and improving our ability to lead and be effective so that we're raising the performance of the team to a higher level. That's going to be the key. Also, you got to understand the law of communication or law of connection, right? Which is law number 10 is key too, right? Your ability to connect with your team. Think about this as the position, if you are in a position of leadership, you got to be able to connect with them. You got to be able to understand what drives them, what motivates them, what's inspiring, what their goals are, what their visions are, so that you can connect with them and they can help you and they can answer or put together the 3 questions that people are asking of their leaders. Can I trust you? Can you help me? Do you care about me? When they see you caring about them, when you see that they see that you can trust them and you're building that law of common ground, which is law number 6 of the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, you're now adding law number 5, the law of addition, to adding value to somebody's life. You're adding value to the organization and you're really elevating performance. So that's going to be a key to everything. The behavioral styles are very important because you want people to be able to operate in their strengths. You want to be able to let them know that sense of awareness about who they are, why they do what they do, why they operate the way they do in certain situations is valuable piece. It's a valuable piece. It gives them more meaning and value to their life. They understand things a little bit more. That piece of awareness is so important when you talk about elevating the game, opening up leadership ability, developing leaders who are confident in their ability to lead. And more importantly, they're so confident that they are developing other leaders. And so you got to take a look at finding a way to understand style. So again, I do that through DISC assessments. I do behavioral assessments with teams and really help them understand their ability to elevate their leadership ability, to impact their team and motivate and inspire, to really create a team dynamic where everybody's performing at a higher level and you're really being able to produce some things that are going to help you reach your goals and really become the high performing team that you were put together to be. So again, we want to close out this part of the session with understanding that if you improve communication and collaboration through understanding people's style, understanding what they need when it comes to communicating in this time of challenge, what they need to be motivated, how you can help them, how you can add value to their life. And then if you do that, what you'll do is you'll put them in an area where they're operating at their strengths, and you're going to enhance their productivity and efficiency. And your team's going to become that high performing team that you were designed to be. So I want you to really focus on your team. Don't just be a leader who is in a position of leadership. True leadership is about elevating your game from the position of leadership to gaining their permission to lead them, to being a productive leader, to developing individuals to lead them, to be able to lead themselves as lead and become productive leaders as themselves. And then eventually you're going to be leading individuals where you're developing leaders who are developing leaders who are developing leaders, and they're using your concepts, they're using your books, your methods, your different tips to really elevate and create a legacy that are operating the legacy that you've created. This leadership optimization is powerful, ladies and gentlemen. maximizing your true leadership ability to really create great opportunities for yourself to succeed, and exceed expectations is important. But you've got to be intentional with your growth. If you want to really create that connection with your team and really create the momentum shift that you're going to need to have that explosive growth, understanding your team dynamics and putting people in the areas of their strengths, operating at a high performance, understanding what they need when you communicate with them to get the vision going, man, leadership optimization is the way to go. So with that, we're going to take a look. We're going to come back. We're going to take another quick break, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk about our next topic, which is effective communication strategies and building high performance teams. We've been talking about this teamwork, and I'm telling you, there's so many different steps. This is only an hour show, right? I only got about 45 minutes to really give this to you, but it's just a brief overview. We can go through, if you can connect with me on cericcollier.com, we can go through what it really takes to really develop your leadership communication, your communication style, and your leadership ability. So we'll be back. Get ready. Your momentum shift continues when we get back. Hello and welcome back to the Momentum Shift podcast and radio show, family. I'm C. Eric Collier, and we're still diving in with leadership optimization and improving teamwork and collaboration. That theme that's going to help us really create the momentum shift we need to create in order to achieve the goals that we're looking for. So we've talked about teamwork. We talked about team dynamics. Now we're going to dive into two things that are going to be really important: effective communication strategies, and then putting it all together, building a high performance team where we're performing at our highest level, unlocking that true potential so that we can create the momentum shift we need, as well as motivate, inspire, and have a team developing into the leaders that we need to be productive, efficient, effective. I mean, gosh, performing in their own unique strengths. So here we go. Let's dive into effective communication. So John Maxwell tells us communication is the foundation of every successful team. Think about this. I told you before, you can put the best players together. You can put the best team on paper together. But if they can't communicate the vision effectively, if they can't hold each other accountable, if there's no trust because they can't communicate, it's done. It's done. In the book, Five Dysfunctional Teams, trust is huge. It is the foundation of building a successful team. And if a team has no trust, there's a communication breakdown. There's a productivity breakdown. There is no connection within the team. Nobody's vulnerable enough to really let their ego drop so that they can elevate and perform and be receptive. So the lack of trust, the lack of the ability to communicate and connect is huge. And I think we have to explore the crucial role of effective communication and teamwork and collaboration, because again, that foundation of trust. So let's take a look at it. We go back to the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. You attract who you are. How do you attract a team to you and your vision and your mission if you can't communicate? If you can't connect, how are you going to connect with them? So we got to look at, the strategies that you need to do, right? So marketing your team, right? You put together this team and you have this vision. How do you go about hiring and recruiting? I think it's very important when you look at hiring and recruiting, because oftentimes you're finding people, recruiters who are hiring individuals for what I call the bait and switch. After leaving the military, I worked in the government contracting world for about 13, 14 years. And it was nothing to hear that someone was hired for a certain position, and yet when they got on the job, it was totally different. And then what happens? Well, the lack of trust has gone out the window. Right? You hired me because this is my expertise, this is my ability, this is what I do. But you bring me in here and now I'm doing something totally different that I don't even relate to, that is not in my wheelhouse, and that I'm not even comfortable doing. So now I'm upset because I can't trust you. You communicated something to me. Now you've proven that you don't follow through with what you said. So that lack of trust is huge. Let's look at putting this team together again. How many times have you hired someone who was ineffective on the team, but yet when brought to your leadership's attention, they didn't address it? Now what happens? Well, the team starts talking about this individual because they know they're ineffective. They don't want to deal with them. Now they're upset with them. Now they're upset with leadership because leadership's not covering them. They don't have their back. In fact, they're complaining to the team member, and the team member's like, hey, look, I'm doing my job. Nobody's addressing me. Nobody's written me up. Nobody's called me in the office. You guys are just whiners. Well, that's ineffective. That's ineffective. We got to bring people on board who can communicate effectively, who are open to communication, who can really aren't afraid to voice their opinions and hold each other accountable. So that goes at the leadership level, that goes with the team level as well. But if leadership is doing it, the law of the picture is in effect, because I do what I see. And so as a team member, if the leadership is walking the walk and talking the talk, then it's easy for everybody else to follow suit, because that's the environment, that's the culture that we create in our organization. And so we've got to do that, as well as understand that this miscommunication, can be costly. Think about this. You go to your team and you say, this is what I need you to draw up. This is what I want it to look like. This is what it should do. And then you take it back to your client, and your client's like, this is not what I told you to do. This isn't even close to what we want. This doesn't even connect with our mission and vision. So now you've wasted valuable time. You've wasted valuable production resources, all because you didn't communicate what the customer wanted. You didn't pay close attention to the needs and what the customer values. You didn't communicate effectively. So that's very important when you're putting together a team that is going to be productive and high performer. High performers take the time out to listen to the customer, to ask the questions of what they need, to find out what they need to do to really promote that customer's mission and vision. So again, communication is going to be key if you're looking at really moving this team forward. Communication is the foundation of every successful team. That's what John Maxwell says. And we've seen it over and over again, time and time again. If the leader cannot communicate effectively, if he can't create an environment where the team is working and holding each other accountable, and there's a level of trust, because I got your back. I know you're going to do what you say you do. Every time something comes up, you step in and you hold me accountable. Those things are going to be key. So think about this. Building a high performance team is key to creating a momentum shift when it comes to elevating your team's productivity, effectiveness. I've said it over and over again. Simon Sinek said a team is not a group of people who work together. A team is a group of people who trust each other. And that bond, man, I'm a big fan of the Georgia Bulldogs, and Coach Kirby Smart said it's the connectivity of this team that creates victories. It's the connectivity of this team that creates the trust. I mean, that's huge. A lot of coaches don't talk about their team connecting. They talk about the team that they put together through the transfer portal, the people, the guys they brought in. They talk about all these different things, but what they don't focus on, the connection of the team. That's where it makes the difference in winners and losing. Connection. I got your back. I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do. I need you to do what you say you're going to do. That connectivity is huge. Understanding what motivates and inspires your teammates, understanding what moves the needle when it comes to production. So you can't get out there and be lost in the sauce. You got to be on the same page. Everybody's got to do their job. I remember seeing a write-up, and I think it was Coach Kirby Smart said he went to the New England Patriots building, and New England Patriots have won multiple Super Bowls. Man, Tom Brady, everybody. But when he walked in, you saw none of that. He said the one thing he remembers seeing was the phrase, do your job. Do your job. Do your job. And think about this. If you do your job and everybody else does their job, you're focused on that mission and carrying things out according to what you need to carry out, your strengths, your goals, the vision of your position, and how it affects the team, brings everybody together, and what you must do. Man, doing your job is a valuable piece to this. So you got to have team members who are willing to give up the individual accolades to support the mission of the team. That's going to drive the success, the trust, the accountability, and that shared sense of purpose. Man, when everybody's not focused on, hey, I'm going to get mine, that's one of the worst things and the worst attitudes you can ever have when it comes to a team. Yeah, you get yours, but you get yours by doing your job. So many players who have come into the game solely focused on getting theirs miss out on championship after championship. You cannot bring those individuals together and they not have a common bond, a common goal to do their job and really focus on the mission. I think you have to sacrifice. The law of sacrifice is huge. You've got to give something up to get something, to gain something. But you got to prioritize your role as well. Prioritize those things that make you better. What makes you better? What makes you better in your role? What makes you better as a teammate? Right? That's what makes you better as a support to your client. Think about that. When you know that and you can operate in your strengths, or you can bring other people from the team in to support that client because you don't necessarily excel in that area, doing your job is key. So I think what you got to look at when you are looking at optimizing your leadership, maximizing your leadership ability, being able to take a team from level 1 to the top, is putting together a team that is on the same page. They trust each other. They're holding each other accountable. They're able to communicate the mission. They're able to understand what their job is. They're able to come together and sacrifice the individual accolades to move forward. It's going to be key in creating a momentum shift. You think about this. Momentum shifts don't come overnight. They come with being in the process of growing and learning and putting the work in and day out, even when you don't feel like it, because that's what it's about. And it's in the process where you understand the value and you're grateful for the opportunity, tests, and challenges, because it's in the process, you're being put to the fire simply because this is your test, your challenge and opportunity to take your game to another level. You can't just go from A to Z. You got to take step by step. I always like that saying, you can't eat an elephant in one bite. I wouldn't want to eat an elephant, but I can tell you right now, I guarantee you're going to have to chop that back. I don't want to say that because it won't sound bad. But you got to eat it one bite at a time, right? The step of 1,000 miles starts, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. So let's look at it like that. We'll talk about eating elephants. So I want you to consider this high-performing team that's not just productive, but resilient. You got to be able to bounce back. Everything doesn't always go your way. You're going to have setbacks. Somebody's going to get hurt. Somebody's not going to be there that day. There's going to be a sickness, an illness, a death in the family, or they just not there because of things they got going on in their life. But somebody's got to pick up where they left off. Hey, you might not do their job great, but hey, if you could pick up just for a little bit, for a couple of days or little hours here and there, and not be in your feelings about it, trust me, it'll help the team out later on because that person will know, hey, when I fall, you're going to pick me up. Think about this. When you're facing challenges and you got to be able to adapt and overcome, when the team comes together and say, hey, look, I know you're struggling here, but this is what I can do to help you out. I know you're struggling here. This is going to help you out here. So I think that's going to be key. When you know you've got the backing of a team, man, it helps you come in there every day. Not everybody wants to come into work every day, but knowing you got a team that you're working with, that you connect with, you can trust them, they got your back, is huge in your performance eventually, right? And so each day, understand what the company's vision is. Understand what your organization's goals are, the mission, excuse me, and connect with that. Excuse me. And if it's not connecting with you, you might be in the wrong place. But I can tell you, there's something out there for you. There's something big out there for you, you and your team. But you got to put the right team together. You got to give them the tools, be able to understand their behavior patterns, their personality styles, traits, excuse me, traits, and help them by putting them in position to operate in their strengths. It's going to be key when you're looking at creating that momentum shift that's going to take that change. You want to achieve some goals. You don't want to miss out on goals. I can tell you, leaders who continue to miss out on goals get replaced. Think about it. Think about it. Companies will replace you in a heartbeat if you can't motivate and inspire your team. Company will replace you in a heartbeat if you're not innovative, if you're not trying to find ways to really take the business to another level. So you got to be able to not only see it, but you got to have a team that's going to support it, that mission. So think about leadership optimization. Not just think about it, but hey, do it. Apply these stuff that we talk about today and really help you change your life. So some of the things we talked about today, we talked about putting together a dynamic team. Oh man, a dynamic team that's operating in their strengths. They're productive. They're communicating well. They're collaborating. They're really moving the needle. That's a team you want to put together. Effective communication, understanding our communication styles, our collaboration styles when we're in a struggle, when we're in challenge, when we're at our own. That self-awareness piece is key when you talk about developing leaders, because most people don't think that they are a leader. They just think that they're an employee. But when you you empower them and you give them the encouragement and you're backing them, you start to develop leaders. And so what you want is leaders on your team, not followers. You want followers there only to develop them into future leaders. So it's going to be key. If you're going to really develop a team, you got what it takes. I'm telling you, you can be courageous in finding that team. Spend that time as a recruiter, looking for individuals who have the skill set to come in and really be a performing member of the team. And then somebody who has the ability to listen, to learn, and the willingness to be open, to be educated on how we roll, and then help them be a part of the team. In hiring, there's a process. Sometimes it's a difficult one to find the right pieces, but you can find them. They're out there. You just got to pay close attention. You can't have leaders focusing on individuals that they like, but when you bring them to the team, they are the negative energy that is really keeping the team apart. So I want you to bring those positive individuals, those people who are willing to challenge each other, but really let things go so that we can continue to move forward. Bring the challenges up, yes, but don't be so negative that you're holding on to it. And so 3 years later, you're still holding on to something that took place that nobody's even worried about. So again, I want you to imagine that team where you got members who are empowered to contribute their unique strengths. They're collaborating effectively. They're trusting and they're holding each other accountable, because that team is driving the collective success in your organization. That team is what you want to connect and build and create that championship that you need, because they're not just productive, they're resilient, they're adapting to every challenge that they're coming at, they're understanding that the tests and opportunities are their opportunity to really overcome the obstacles that they're facing. And then they're achieving better results, and they're creating that momentum shift that you need to really take things to action. So as we move forward, ladies and gentlemen, we get ready to move into next week's chapter. I want you to focus on this leadership ability. Go back and listen to last week's episode to really understand how you can maximize your leadership capability. Listen to this again, this episode about maximizing your team's capability, your leadership capability to really be effective and achieve great success, because this leadership optimization piece is crucial in creating momentum shifts. So again, the momentum shift, this is what you want. This is what you're looking for. It's going to take you from being stuck to moving forward in a pace that you want in life. You no longer want to be stuck and stagnant. You want to get some victories under your belt. You want to get some momentum going so that you can achieve explosive growth in, I don't know how long. It just depends on how long you're willing to work. But explosive growth is going to happen if you create the momentum shift you want. That team you want, put them together. Bring them together. And if you don't have them, you just keep working until you get those pieces where you want them. And then your ability to develop leaders who develop leaders who develop leaders is going to help you create that high power team. So I'm C. Eric Collier. Until next week, this is the Momentum Shift podcast and radio show where we help you achieve high levels of success, unlock potential, and ignite the leader within. Take care.
Thank you for joining The Momentum Shift, a show bringing you interviews and stories of incredible people to help you get inspired, get moving, and get results to ultimately create the life-changing momentum shift that will improve your life. Join host Eric Collier, the mayor of motivation and mental quicksand expert, every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern for The Momentum Shift, the show and change you've been looking for.